I'm Leslie Brown, the incoming superintendent of East Baton Rouge Parish Schools. And again, I thank you all very much for joining us this morning to be able to take a look at some of the new information that we have made some decisions on. We are announcing this morning that we will now offer an all-virtual learning model for all students beginning August 10th through Labor Day, unless the conditions change again. The decision to change the original reopening date and to delay the start date was made in response to additional stakeholder feedback and the continuously rising local and state rates of COVID-19. We actually did a presentation last Thursday with the board. We had some great input from stakeholders as well as staff. But once they got their eyes on the plan, it was an important time for us to listen and gather more information from our constituents. Under the all-virtual model, which is being shared today, learning will be facilitated remotely through each of the students' individual neighborhood schools. So this is critical that they are able to stay with their assigned school. It's very important for families to continue to stay connected to their home schools, to their assigned schools, and be able to connect and reach out during this time of isolation. The district really stands committed to gradually returning to the face-to-face learning for all students. At this time, we're going to start virtual. When we transition to the face-to-face, we are going to prioritize those in the primary early learning grades, as well as our special needs self-contained students. We think it's very important that we get those students' needs met as soon as possible. And then we gradually will continue to increase student enrollment as the conditions allow with space and staffing. And we will begin that close after Labor Day. We are also going to continue to monitor the public health crisis as well as navigate this whole phased reopening beginning after Labor Day. In addition to this change, we actually have been able to add some more days for teachers for staff development and professional development. The staff is going to engage in professional development from August 3rd to August 7th. So instead of only 3 days of pre-planning, we're actually going to have 5 days of pre-planning. This particular opportunity will give staff the chance to use those days to get ready for the virtual environment. Even though there's already been a significant amount of professional development being done over the summer, we really felt it important to expand those days and give teachers the opportunity for more time to prepare. So this will give them 5 days instead of the original 3 days. The delayed start date for students will have absolutely no impact on the academic calendar. It will not bump into any of our scheduled holidays or special days that we have. So we feel that those 2 days for the teachers was a critical shift for us to be able to continue to serve them. The district is also poised to achieve the one-to-one student-to-device ratio by the beginning of the school year. As you know, last year there were some devices that were deployed. We actually have enough devices for every single student. We will be setting up opportunities for parents and families to work with their schools to pick up those devices. And for households in needs of connectivity and devices, support will be provided for both. Families are actually encouraged to go to a website right now or to reach out to your child's school for assistance. So let me give you that website. It's https://www.ebr.technology/. And there you will be able to see information on how you would get your device, as well as connectivity to services that are already provided within your community. The district remains committed to very clear and frequent communication. We really want people to know what is going on. Information and updates will be provided through the district's official communication channels, such as the district website, the East Baton Rouge Schools Facebook page, as well as robocalls to staff and families. We also anticipate adding some additional opportunities for communication through working with some of our municipality partners and trying to use different telephone systems to make sure that people get information. The other most important part of this is families will have the option for an all virtual model for the entire school year. So not only are we opening virtually, but for those families that feel that they want to stay virtual, they will be able to continue in that virtual environment for the entire school year. So we think that that is important for those parents that have reached out to us that really are interested in that virtual model rather than the face-to-face. Remember, hybrid also includes some virtual as well as face-to-face, so we really look forward to the opportunity to head into the hybrid model. First, beginning with the virtual and having all of our parents and students with appropriate devices, information, as well as connecting to their teachers. We all know that this fall semester is going to look and feel very, very different from those of the past. We really appreciate the opportunity to continue to communicate with all of our family members. And none of us, just none of us, could have predicted what was happening during the past 4 months. And the future really does remain uncertain. We are staying at the top level of safety and health for all of our students and our staff. That is our priority. Right up next to it is that continuous learning, and that is why that virtual model allows us to do that. Time and time again, this community has really shown collective strength and unity, and the East Baton Rouge team has proven itself resilient. So we really appreciate the community's work with us, as well as all of the work of the staff, principals, and district office in getting these models designed. In order to meet our challenges, we will continue to work together in the midst of these unprecedented times. It is very, very important that we stay connected. We thank every single one of our students. They have been wonderful during the Smart Start program in the summer as well as in the spring. We look forward to re-engaging with them again on August 10th. And we also thank our students and our families. And also, very, very importantly, we thank our educators. This is the hugest shift of their entire career, and we are so proud of the work that they have been doing and the work that they will continue to do in the virtual model. United with our community partners, we will continue to seek ways for collaboration and coordination of all of our resources for all of us to move forward. I'm going to tag back to you, Taylor. I think we have someone special that's going to join us this morning.
Yes, Ms. Brown, and thank you so much for your time this morning, too. We know this was a very difficult decision, and we know how hard you've been working, so thank you. And at this time, we have Mr. Daniel Edwards, the principal of Wildwood Elementary. Mr. Edwards has been a principal in the district for many years. He's actually been the principal of somebody we have on this call right now, so that's exciting. He has seen this community overcome great obstacles, and he himself has also battled COVID-19. So, Mr. Edwards, we know that each school serves a unique community, but please share with us your thoughts about the latest school reopening plans, and if you're comfortable, a little bit about what you have personally experienced this summer. And don't forget to unmute your mic.
Thank you so much, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to speak this morning. Thank you, Superintendent Brown, for including me and Mr. Smith and others who were involved in this process. As we look at data, which is so important to what we do every day, and it's how we coach teachers and administrators to constantly be looking at data and what it tells us. If ever there was a time for us to really examine the data, it's right now with everything that's going on in our community. But when you look at the virus numbers as they continue to escalate, I'm in favor of the new plan revisions that Ms. Brown spoke about this morning. I think that is the best approach. I think that the instructional piece is going to take place. Our teachers are going to teach. They're going to work hard. We have dedicated professionals in our district. And so I'm not as concerned about that piece. I think we'll be able to offer great educational opportunities in the virtual and hybrid platform. But above all else is the safety of our children and also our employees. And so as I think about what I went through with the coronavirus, I started experiencing symptoms in early April. And a few days later, I was in the hospital. And so I actually got a COVID test and did not get the results until I was actually hospitalized. And as I think about what happened to me, when I got into the hospital situation, my wife, who has supported me throughout this, and actually picked me up off the floor when I couldn't get off the floor because I was so sick. She was there with me, but had to leave me. And as I think about all the logistical questions that parents face, and I have children myself, and how am I going to work this virtual platform, and at the same time, I have to go to work and do these things. And I resolved in my mind, and I'm saying this in all love and sincerity for me personally, I had to resolve in my mind that I was willing to work through whatever logistical situations that I had to work through, as opposed to the risk factors involved with rushing back into a situation that may not be the best for my child, and then potentially having to take them to the hospital at some point and not knowing that I could follow them and be with them in their greatest time of need. So that's a little bit. I spent several days in the ICU unit. I can't say enough about the care that I was provided, both at the Lady of the Lake in Ascension and also at the Lady of the Lake in Baton Rouge, by so many professionals who are so compassionate and caring and are really battling. And as I think about coming back under the circumstances that exist now and what that may do to an already strained hospital and medical system, I just think this is the best approach, to come back virtually. And then at some point, as we look at data, and continue to monitor that the best approach to be with the segue into the hybrid model at a later date. So I can speak for the faculty and staff that we have here at Wildwood, and I believe I can speak confidently about faculty and staff members and support personnel all over our district. For those who may say, well, are you really ready? Are you really missing the kids? Yes. Our hearts go out to our families and our students, because that's what we do every day. We engage with our kids. And having been on all levels of education, from high school to middle school to elementary, I can say that I've fallen in love with the elementary environment, and our kids love you, they hug you, they want to be in contact with you. And that's so much a part of what we do, is to holistically educate our students beyond just the academics. And so that being such a vital part of it, I really believe, and in my heart feel like the best thing for us to do is to come back in a virtual format until such time as the data demonstrates that we can segue into the hybrid model. And so our teachers are ready to go. We closed out the school year last year in a virtual format, and we know we're going to have to expand on that and make it even better, and we're excited about doing that. But at the same time, we miss our kids, we miss our families, and we care about all of you. And as a school principal, and I believe I can speak for my colleagues across the district, as a school principal, I have to be able to look at my families in the eye and look at my students in the eye and say that we've done everything we can as a district and as a school to create the safest, most conducive environment, not only for our children's safety, but for our instructional practices as well. And I know, and I have confidence that we will not do anything to jeopardize that, because that, again, is at the heart of what we do. So I'm excited from the standpoint of that we will be starting, but I do believe, again, and I can't say this enough, that the best approach is to begin with the virtual model. And so I appreciate everyone giving me the opportunity to speak this morning and share with you a little bit of my thoughts that impacted me directly during this time. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Edwards, and we're so pleased to hear that you're feeling better, and you're essential to this team, and we couldn't do this without you. So I know you're very busy today getting your faculty and school and staff ready to go, so we'll let you go, but thanks again for joining us. And at this time, I'd like to open the floor for questions. Superintendent Brown, Mr. Nikes, and Mr. Smith are all available to answer your questions.
May I start?
Go ahead, jump on in. Who do we have?
This is Nadine with WBRZ. I know you mentioned y'all have a change of protocols, y'all are doing a few things, it's all doing virtual, but let's say whenever y'all do segue to those in-person classes, would testing be factored into what that in-person is going to look like? That is for Superintendent Leslie Brown.
Trying to get my camera back on. I'm having a, there we go. So thanks so much for that question. So one of the things that we have talked about is the actual COVID testing. We have discussed this at length, and we will not be able to actually require people to go and get tested before they come back to school. However, we will be doing a campaign that makes sure that everybody knows where those testing sites are and promoting people getting tested during this time, during the virtual. The challenge with requiring people to be tested or any type of testing at all is we would do a test one day and then 2 days later the person could be positive. So instead of mandating, which I do not believe we're able to do under forcing somebody to have a medical test, we are going to push out a campaign that supports people getting tested and supports taking appropriate action before we get to the hybrid model. So thanks for that question.
Thank you.
I don't know if I'm skipping ahead of anyone, but can I jump in?
Please do.
Okay, this is Donovan Jackson with WASD 9 News. We're curious to see, how do these changes affect or apply to Catholic schools? Is this something that the changes they're going to be seeing as well?
So the Catholic schools actually have their own calendar and decision-making process. So what we have heard is there are some schools, perhaps charter schools, that may follow suit with what the district does, but each one of these different entities, educational entities, they have their own system for making decisions. So this will not create a mandate or anything like that for the Catholic schools to follow what the East Baton Rouge Public Schools are doing.
Awesome, thank you.
Anybody else?
Question for Nadine with WBRZ. How does this affect, anything extracurricular from sports to just clubs and things like that? How does it affect, is all of that canceled? Is all of that virtual? How are the steps gonna affect those things?
So as you mentioned, we have to follow the Louisiana Athletic Association recommendations for sports. So I'm going to let Mr. Nikes chime in a little bit on this, and then we can talk a little bit more about clubs.
Hello, good morning, everyone. This is Ben Nikes with the school district, and we will, at the high school level, continue to follow the LHSA guidelines for sports. So we'll be working through some of that to explore opportunities. Again, a student who's attending virtually could still participate in athletics appropriately. As far as clubs and activities, we have a team that's working up some guidance documents on that as well. And we would encourage, of course, to continue, to the extent possible, virtual activities or virtual connections for those schools. And then again, once we transition back at some point to a hybrid model or face-to-face, we'll do that with appropriate distancing and spacing as well.
So thanks, Mr. Nikes. I just wanted to also share that that we have had some great success in using Teams meetings for clubs and activities. The students seem to be very, very comfortable with that environment with each other. And as a team expands their windows, we'll be able to see more children at one time, and we'll be able to continue to have children interface appropriately through their club sponsors through a Teams meeting. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Last question. Edward's kind of covered this in the sense of the response, but what has the response been from a lot of the EBR schools, the teachers, with this virtual idea? That's from Ms. Brown.
Yes, thanks so much for that question. So far, the responses have been positive. We know that there are some community members that are so looking forward to children being able to get back into the schoolhouse, and that is our ultimate goal. But what we have been hearing is that particularly teachers and administrators, school-based, are very, very pleased that they have the opportunity to shift into a virtual and then into the hybrid. So far, it has been positive. We do expect to get more feedback, but so far, we believe that we are headed in the absolute right direction for this time and this place under the COVID conditions.
Okay. And actually, apologies, one more question. How about that, how do y'all plan to achieve the 1-to-1 ratio on tech? I mean, how many families roughly would y'all expect will need technology or help with getting Wi-Fi and connections?
So we believe that we have a number of families that have perhaps did not participate as highly as we wanted them to in the spring. That we will need to get connected to. So the process that we're using right now is we are actually collecting, not collecting because we have the information, we're putting every single student name into a data system for each school, and we will be able to check who has the devices and who actually has internet access. That will be sent out to the parents to confirm. And those parents that we are not able to reach, the schools will be calling them directly to make sure that we hear from them as to what their exact needs are. As far as numbers go, those numbers continue to shift. So we don't have an exact number right now as far as connectivity, but we also are working with a partnership. Our IT team is working with a partnership with providers, still looking for additional opportunities to provide internet access in more ubiquitous ways across the district. But our IT team has done an awesome job of setting up mobile hotspots as well as providing actual hotspot devices to families that did not have internet access for Smart Start and for the spring. Our challenge is making sure that every single parent responds to the information from the schools so that we can get them exactly what we need. As long as we know what they need, we will be able to provide it. So we're looking forward to hearing from our parents. Thanks.
And then what about lunch? What about those families that depend heavily on those lunches from schools, those in-person schools?
So that's a super question. Our child nutrition team has been awesome all the way from March through the summer up until today. They have been doing a yeoman's job of making sure that we find where those food needs are. So beginning at the first day of school, we will continue to provide school meals. And they actually are looking at using some of our bus systems, our school buses, to be able to deliver those meals to our families. So it's a real combined effort to make sure that our families continue to get the food service and malnutrition opportunities for each of their children and family members in those homes. So great question. Thank you.
I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, I can, sir. Sure. So those are awesome questions. So first of all, to the no connectivity or perhaps outages, The IT team has put together an awesome nerd squad where they're going to be ready to take calls and help people through any of the technology issues that they're having in their home. And I mean that lovingly. They are an awesome group, and they have a hotline, and we'll make sure that we get that information out, where parents, even teachers, students can call at any time to get some support for internet connectivity issues, as well as issues with the curriculum and working through Google Classroom. So on the other question, what do teachers need from parents? This is very, very important, and it's very hard to do. As a parent myself, I have 3 daughters, and trying to get some sense of sequence, some sense of a system in the home is very difficult to do on a good day. So I think one of the things is setting a schedule for your children. Each of the schools will have a schedule. Elementary, middle, and high school will have different schedules as far as when they start and end. And there will be specific times when the teachers will be doing their instruction, and then there'll be time for individual learning to be done throughout the school day. So setting up a spot and a place in the home for each of the children to be able to look at their schedules, really understand what they're expected to do at different times during the day, is exactly what the teachers will need, so that as they go through the school day, the students and the parents will understand how to connect and when they're online and what the expectations are during the school day in the virtual environment. Setting up a schedule, setting up a place, and allowing children to know what's expected of them is what our teachers will really need from our parents in the virtual environment. Great question, by the way. Thank you.
Hi there. Obviously, this is an ever-changing situation. So what would you tell parents as we kind of head into the unknown? We know that there is a virtual learning plan in place, but week by week, things are changing. So what would you tell parents to kind of comfort them as we navigate this journey?
Yeah. So I really appreciate that question, too, because there is nothing more important than a parent having a comfort level, because when a parent doesn't have a comfort level, neither does the child. The child really looks to the parent for that sense of security and understanding that things are going to be okay. And so one of the pieces of really designing and launching this virtual environment first really allows families to be comfortable with this model. Once our families are comfortable with this model, we will be able to shift, and parents will know what the expectations are. So going from virtual to hybrid will allow the parents to understand what's happening during the hybrid time that is virtual, because remember, even in the hybrid, 3 out of the 5 days are virtual. So we will be able to have that sense of calmness where parents understand what the expectations are as we shift through these opportunities. Also, we will be having orientations at the schools, so the parents will be able to understand how the devices work. They will be scheduled so that they'll be able to go into the schools and either pick up the device and meet with 1 or 2 people to be able to get that done. And we really feel like the parents will start to feel more connected to their home schools. And once that happens, that sense of calmness and knowing the schedule and being able to be online and knowing that if we need to shift, the parents are already ready for that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, last call. Oh, okay. There we go.
Actually, they're spread out now across several days. So the 6th and the 7th were set up specifically for, alphabet, A through L and N through Z. Now the principals are setting them up individually, and they're connecting with their families on what days those are and who's to come on which day. Mr. Smith or Mr. Nikes, do you want to share a little bit more on the orientation days?
Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Each individual schools will be setting up specific orientation days. Some of them will be in person and some will be virtual for those families who do not want to come to the school. We will start July 27th with a big push campaign to get additional devices into the hands of those students who don't have them. As Ms. Brown mentioned, we started with Jump Start and summer remediation over the summertime, and so we did not collect any Chromebooks from students other than the graduating seniors, but many of our students still have their Chromebooks in their possession. And so as far as with the orientations, they're going to be set by individual schools, and schools will be reaching out to their families to inform them of the orientation dates.
So, and I appreciate that, Mr. Smith. It will be dependent on each school whether or not the families will come in. Most of the orientation days will be virtual. The days where parents will come in are the days where the devices would be picked up. So thank you, Mr. Smith.
Is there time for one more question, or?
Go ahead.
I know you guys did a survey prior to that plan that y'all did on last week of Thursday, and then y'all presented another survey. By any chance, would you know the numbers of the parents that chose virtual over in person or anything like that?
So, so we don't know the numbers exactly right this second. The actual portal it's open all the time. So when we started looking at the first time that we did it was about 3 weeks ago, and we are seeing many more parents selecting into the virtual in the portal version. The previous version was basically anonymous survey. This one is actually connected to each of the student records. And that data continues to come in every single day. So we don't have exact numbers right this second, but while we're going all virtual, that data will continue to drive what happens as we shift to hybrid as to who would stay virtual. And we would have to reopen it again before we went, shifted after Labor Day to a hybrid model to make sure that those parents do still want to stay virtual. Mr. Nikes, did you have anything else on the portal?
Yes, ma'am, you're correct with that. And again, we know that all students will transition, of course, to virtual at this point, but we will at some point close that survey out very shortly, and then we'll reopen it and verify with parents, the ones who've registered, if they want to continue with virtual once we flex back to a hybrid or face-to-face model, or we can also collect parents who changed their mind and want to stay with the virtual.
Okay, well, not hearing any more questions come up right now, but Ms. Brown, if you'd like to give any closing remarks, and then of course, everybody on the call, if you think of anything else, please feel free to shoot me an email.
Sure. Thank you so much, Taylor. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with the media this morning. I just wanted to just give a special shout out to Mr. Edwards, Mr. Daniel Edwards, for being with us this morning, sharing his own personal story and helping us to further understand the challenges that families face during this time. So special thanks to Mr. Edwards. Also to the media, you all have been fabulous in working with us during this time. It does change a lot, and every single time we have called you, you have been there to help us get the information out. And just a little shout out to Taylor and all of the great work that she's been doing in some of this really hectic time, making sure that people have the information on time as soon as we're able to provide it. So Taylor, back to you. Just thanks so much to everyone. I appreciate it.